Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us and coming to our brief talk titled Library Publishing and Scholarly Bibliographies, a Case Study. My name is Laird. I'm the Open Publishing Program Coordinator at Penn State University, and I'm presenting today with my colleague, Angel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Angel Peterson, the Open Publishing Production Specialist here at Penn State.
Today's presentation is just going to start off with a very brief overview of Penn State's Open Publishing Program. We'll then talk a lot more specifically about our bibliographies and the process for publishing those. We'll then do a lot closer of a look, looking at one of our bibliographies in particular, Survival on the Margins, as a case study. And then we'll end with a brief discussion of challenges and areas for growth. The publishing program at Penn State provides open access publishing support for a variety of different publication types, the majority being journals and scholarly bibliographies. However, we do also provide support for the other publication types that are listed here on this slide. Today, however, we want to talk very specifically about our scholarly bibliographies. The bibliography publishing at Penn State has actually doubled since 2019. At that point, we had 6 bibliographies that we had published, and now we have 10, with 2 more actively in production, and another 2 to 3 additional opportunities that have come our way for additional future bibliographies. We have great diversity in the subject area of our bibliographies, mostly in the humanities and social sciences, all edited or authored by Penn State faculty or staff, or with a topic area of interest to Pennsylvania. 2 of them are entirely in French. 1 of them is on web accessibility for libraries. We have some bibliographies on public programs such as 4-H and the Expanded Food and Nutrition Education Program, or FNEP. And then we also have bibliographies that serve as companions to institutes, programs, and other publications. Today, we're going to take a closer look at one of those types of publications as a case study and walk you through the process from consultation to promotion and publication.
This is the homepage for the Survival on the Margins, Polish Jewish Refugees in the Wartime Soviet Union Bibliography. This bibliography came to us from Penn State faculty member Dr. Eliana Adler. Dr. Adler was publishing her book of the same title, and her publisher was only able to publish her primary resources in the book itself. So she needed an avenue to publish her secondary resources, so she reached out to our publishing program. In the book, there is a hyperlinked DOI to the publication.
As Angel mentioned, this bibliography came to us about a year ago in mid-May of 2020, when the author, a Penn State faculty member, inquired about us helping to publish this companion bibliography for her monograph. The book couldn't hold the expansive secondary bibliography, as Angel noted, but she wanted that content to be made available to anyone that was interested. We met with the faculty member in an initial consultation, and afterwards we encouraged her to complete a proposal form because we felt her project really fit the scope of our publishing support. The proposal form for her bibliographies, or for bibliographies in general, ask about 15 questions regarding who owns the content, who the expected audience is, the scholarly value of the proposed publication, any potential copyright concerns, what content and content types are going to be included, and any organizational considerations or desires for the content that the editor might have that we should be aware of. I then took that proposal to our editorial advisory board for review and comment, as I do with any new publication coming to Penn State's open publishing. The board's feedback was very positive and supportive in this case, and we quickly moved forward with the project. The editor signed our bibliography publishing agreement, and we established the URL for the new bibliography, also minting that DOI, as Angel noted, and providing it to the editor so she could provide it to her book publisher and have it be included in that published version. We also confirmed what Creative Commons license the editor wanted to use. Much of the content for these bibliographies is not copyrightable due to the fact that it's a list of factual information about the publications listed in the bibliography, but we use a Creative Commons license for all copyrightable content on the site, such as any annotations in each of the records, if applicable, any additional content and descriptions on the site, or anything else that the author themselves owns. In this instance, the author chose to use the attribution non-commercial license. Once all of those things were completed and tied up, Angel then began to build the site.
So we use the Drupal Biblio module for our bibliographies. Once our developer creates the site, Allie and I are given admin accounts. I then go in and configure the site to the specifications that the editor wants. Configuring these websites take a long time as there are several settings that we need to adjust. So here are 5 of the main steps when configuring the site. For accounts, I have to go in and update permissions for each account type within Drupal: admin, editor, authenticated user, and anonymous user. I created and assigned an account type for our users. For citation styles, we first have to decide what citation style we want, and then I select that within the website. For this one, we use the Chicago Manual of Style. I also will go in and set up styles and options that are to be used within the WYSIWYG. That is also used to create and add content to those complementary pages. We then add theming, colors, and footer information. I also will create and add Biblio fields and match them up with the Excel document, which we will display in a minute. I try to make sure that they match up appropriately. So for example, the spreadsheet might say secondary title, but the corresponding fields in the bibliography will say journal title. Once the website is created and configured, I reviewed the bibliographic entries for accuracy and consistency in the Excel file before converted to XML and uploaded. I made sure spelling was checked, that primary and secondary sources were accurately listed, which again we'll get into in a minute, and that genres were accurately listed. I split each title into a new tab based on that publication type: book, book chapter, or journal article, for example. This made for an easier upload. I also checked to make sure we weren't missing any key information. For example, in the original Excel file that was provided by the editor, the journal article entries had the journal abbreviation, but not the title for the journal. I had to ask the editor to make sure that information was added. So as you can see in the picture, the column that says secondary title is actually journal title in the bibliography website. Once I confirmed that the Excel file was accurate, I converted it to an XML document and uploaded it into the site. Once uploaded, we checked each individual author's name to make sure that it was displayed correctly. We had a student employee help us, and she was fantastic. We had over 700 authors for this publication. Each one had to be checked for accuracy. We also spot checked bibliographic entries as well. So in this slide, we're highlighting the bibliography tab. The bibliography tab is where you can view those records or entries. And as you can see, we have some that are still in press. Each of these pages display 25 titles, and there are 28 pages for this bibliography. Each title is clickable and will open up into a new record. And this is what one of those records looks like. As you can see, we have the title, the publication year and type, author and editor information, publisher and publisher location information, and language. It also will indicate that this is a secondary source. For this bibliography, we had to think of a couple ways to display and make those titles searchable. The editor had different genres and different source types, primary versus secondary. We used the Biblio field called type of work to showcase those genres. We then created a full text search linked menu for each of the genres to display them on the left-hand side. However, not every title had a genre. This bibliography also used taxonomies to determine if the citations were from her primary or secondary sources. Other bibliographies might use taxonomy field to highlight collections. In Drupal, a taxonomy is a way to organize and lay out your content. You can create nested taxonomies, which we don't do in this bibliography because it was not as complex as some others are. Taxonomies are searchable, taggable fields found under the search box under term. If you click on one of the terms, it'll display all of the titles tagged with that taxonomy. They are also listed on the left-hand side of the bibliography. Please note that genres will not appear in the search as taxonomies are based on tagging, and the genre field that we use was not based on tagging. Next, we added that complementary content. On this publication, we added some information about the author's book, the author and her grad students, images from her travels while writing the book, events, and additional publications from the author. All of this complementary content makes this website more robust. Once all of this content is added, I used Wave to run an accessibility check.
Once the site is ready for launch, we have final consultations with the editor to answer any last-minute questions or to make any other final edits that are needed once they've had a chance to see the site, and also to provide any training that might be necessary to those editors so they can add additional bibliography records themselves if they plan to continue to update the bibliography. We may also take this time to discuss alternative bibliography update workflows if needed, considering how often or how much the bibliography might need to be updated. After all of these items are settled, we then officially launch the publication and make it live and publish on our website. I then request that one of our catalogers here at Penn State create a MARC record for the publication so it's searchable both within our as well as other library catalogs. You can see here that from our library's catalog search, the top 2 records are actually showing both the physical and online access to the book itself, and that the 3rd record then is for our companion bibliography publication. Once all of these steps are completed, we then provide a draft press release to our library marketing team, who then revise and finalize it and send it off to be published and distributed. And then they also take some time to market the publication on their social media sites and other avenues that they might feel are appropriate. And once all of this is completed, we consider the publication completed and finally published.
So these are some challenges and areas for growth. Each site creates their own set of challenges. For example, we always want to make sure we check the Excel file for consistency before we upload. And then once uploaded in Biblio, we have to check each author to make sure they are uploaded into the proper first name and last name fields. We check for duplicates and either merge or link them if found. For example, if an author has 2 entries, and one has a middle initial with a period and one does not, it'll upload as 2 different authors. So it's best practice to make sure that those cases are fixed in Excel before uploaded. We also will merge authors of the same name if we can confirm that they are the same person and that there's just a typo in one of the names. We will link them if it is the same author but has 2 different spellings, and we generally go based on how the name is displayed on the original publication. When they are linked, if you click on one author name, it'll pull up all of the titles under each spelling variation. If they are merged, it'll remove one of those variations and keep one. Keywords are something that we also look at. They should be separated with a semicolon, and spelling should always be consistent. Similar to keywords, we do the same thing with genre. We also review annotations to make sure they are in the right field. For example, we would not list the DOI link in the notes field when we have a DOI and a URL field. Now, if there is an additional URL, that would go in the notes field. Essentially, we want to make sure we are displaying what the editor wants us to display. Recently, one of our biggest conversations we have had is to when to use taxonomies, keywords, or another field and change the display to say genre. Taxonomies and keywords are taggable fields, but genre is not. So we can search for genres using the full text search. Sometimes you can use that taxonomy or keyword fields for genres, but we run into issues when the publication has all 3. And we're trying to establish some guidance on when to use taxonomies as a genre versus another field. And ultimately, it depends on what we feel is best for the publication and the type of information we are displaying. We have found that each bibliography is different, and as such have been updating our documentation with more information. And we also started a best practices file to document these thoughts.
Thank you so much for coming to our presentation and hearing us talk about bibliography publishing. You can see our contact information here if anyone wants to send us any emails or ask for any additional information after the presentation. And we look forward to discussing with you and answering any questions you might have during the question and answer. Thanks very much.